Welcome to Absurd and Report. I'm Derek.
My name's Nicole.
And I'm Josh.
And we're going to talk about the Mothman stuck in Richard Gere's butt. Oh, wait, no, was that the hamster?
You didn't even see the movie, did you? Well, the Mothman is literally like my favorite cryptid of all time.
So it's not the gerbil.
No, I don't know. What is this gerbil incident you're even talking about? I don't even
Gere
remember.
stuff is like gerbil play.
Where did you hear this?
Oh, it's big.
The fuck does this have to do with
it? It was a big story back in the 90s.
All right, well, you might know the Mothman originally. Well, not originally, but, you know, it's famous from the Richard Gere movie. That's not about getting gerbils stuck up your ass. I don't know what the hell movie this guy's watching. But it's called the Mothman Prophecies from 2002. But it's based on a real incident in the late 60s in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where a bunch of people over the span of a year would see like a winged black humanoid with red eyes flying around, chasing cars down, etc. And then it kind of culminated with the main bridge in town. What is it called again?
The Silver Bridge.
Yeah, Silver Bridge collapsing with a bunch of people on the bridge around Christmas time.
I'm pretty sure it connected to some part of Ohio.
Yeah, it was a major throughway basically, but it was.
They said it was a 1/4 of an inch of rust in the T-bar.
Yeah,
that caused the
they officially blamed it on the weight of the vehicles that night.
Because they were all stopped, but also they said that it could have been the traffic light because the traffic light wasn't running on the meter.
Or it could be a Mothman.
But those sightings didn't come in a little bit after.
No, the Mothman's before. The Mothman,
yeah, I know, but I feel like the Silver Bridge fell first, and then maybe like a year after they were like, we saw this winged creature.
No. It was okay. So it was real prominent in the news right when people started seeing it. The first time someone saw it was in November 1966. A bunch of gravediggers saw it one night while they were like digging a fresh grave at a cemetery. Some fucking giant thing flew over their head, and that's known as like the first sighting. It's November 12th, and then a couple days later, a couple of teenagers had like some similar thing chase their vehicle for a large stretch down the highway, which was also the main place people would see the Mothman was an area called the TNT area. So that just basically was an old weapons, like munition storage place.
Didn't they blow up some part with TNT, some type of boulder, and then a dinosaur was behind it?
Oh, that's one of the myths in town. See, that's the thing, is the Mothman aspect of it is kind of just like the tip of the iceberg of all the fucking weird shit that went on in that area over the span of that year. And it's all localized to that year. Like, sometimes currently people will claim to have like a Mothman sighting there, or like high UFO activity or something, but it's usually, if you look at it, is all confined to that 1 year.
So it's almost like their own Bridgewater Triangle. It's like a hot spot.
I'd say it's more fucked up though.
It's like, way more fucked up.
Some of the shit is fucking wild.
I'm sorry.
More fucked up than Pugwudgie?
Yeah,
yes,
kind of, man.
I'm sorry. Men in Black was the scariest thing of that whole documentary to me, especially because there was that reporter who was reporting on the Mothman stuff and the UFO sightings.
The documentary, by the way, is called Behind the Red Eyes, right? Is that the name of it?
Yeah, I said it a little bit ago.
Oh, sorry, I missed it.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. All of the Men in Black stuff, like basically high activity of just people seeing UFOs, weird poltergeist activity, alien sightings. People would this was like a common thing where people would report seeing like a disc land and a bunch of little dudes get out and take soil samples and shit.
The reason why I find Mothman to be so creepy is because it kind of reminds me of Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was forced to watch it.
What, Jeepers Creepers or
yeah,
Mothman?
No, Jeepers Creepers.
Oh, okay.
I play video games, and I play some racing video games. Whenever I am able to customize my own license plate, it's always be eating you.
Was that his license plate?
Creepers,
oh yeah,
yes.
He had like the vehicle with the fucking.
He had the truck.
Yeah,
it was creepy and rickety.
All over
it was like very Mad Max. But the license plate said B, the letter B, and then the letter E, and then like ting, and then the letter U. So it's like beating you or be eating you.
I think it's be eating you.
Be eating you.
Okay, where the hell is a monster with like a crab mouth and bat wings getting a personalized license plate though? Is really my.
He stole the truck. Yeah. He ate that dude.
But then the stolen truck just happened to have the license plate.
He ate some douche canoe, okay? He came down, he was like, this guy does not need to live, I'm gonna eat his head.
We could shoot plot holes in Jeepers Creepers all day long.
Okay, well anyway, back to the Mothman.
Back to the Mothman.
So, basically the area they would see it around, this is like an area where all the teenagers would go get fucked up and hang out. You know, if you grew up in a fucking suburb, like, there's always some
Make
dumbass
out
shit
point.
area.
Yeah, if you've ever seen an
Get
80s
your-
horror movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Get
So
your
it's-
smoochies on.
But, you know, people stopped going out there because it became such a common thing to be fucking attacked by this thing.
And
when you
turned
go
inside
there.
out. No one wanted to be
So,
continuously turned inside out.
once a couple dozen people saw the thing fucking, you know, fly at them or chase their car up the highway
I'll
and
do
get
it.
out of there.
That'll put a damper on the mood.
Yeah, a giant faceless black creature that with red
Not
eyes.
so romantic.
That's the other thing is when people would meet it, because people would like meet it. It would like talk to people and shit occasionally and have no, like it would be like a psychic.
It was
thing.
It was
Yeah, and
telepathic.
they said they would never remember what
powers.
its face looked like. That
It
was
changed
like the,
every time.
yeah, that's
Kinda
what the trademark
like
would be.
Rorschach.
But
Yeah, basically, they'd only remember its eyes.
An
you know?
interesting thing that everyone said too is that it didn't flap its wings; it ascended.
Yeah, it would just float basically.
It would
hover,
ascend, which
And
I thought was
occasionally-
very interesting.
and occasionally like teleport, basically.
Do you think that Mothman is an alien?
There's a lot of theories about it. I would say if you're gonna go with any of the wacky theories about that one makes the most sense because of all the fucking UFO stuff going on around the same time.
And then the Men in Black be showing up.
Yeah, and the Men in Black shit is weird too because
They're like quasi-dimensional agents.
but they're also like fucked up in the head. Like they don't like understand how to do certain regular ass things.
Tel-
Well,
what
it's
do
like
they call them?
anyone-
Tulpas?
Yeah, some term
Tulpas.
like that.
But you know, you look at, for example, prisoners
yeah,
who have been incarcerated for long periods of time. They have to go through social kind of like re-education
Yeah.
before they get released back into the general population. Not Gen Pop in jail, like outside.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Released from prison. So I would imagine that if you're an interdimensional being or like a time traveler, that it would be difficult to jump from a place that's thousands of years advanced in technology and then come back to us and
It'd
try
just
to
be
like
confusing because how stupid
you
it
kind of like
is.
yeah, exactly.
Well-
But like there was like these incidents where because this became such a commonplace thing that people were just getting fucking irritated by these guys. Like people weren't even scared of them at a certain point. From what I can gather, people were just like, "Can you fucking leave us alone?"
Oh,
They
so
were-
they were Jehovah's Witnesses.
No, they were kind of trolling. In my point of view, it seemed like they were kind of trolling
Yeah.
because they were like ballpoint pens.
Yeah, they would be fascinated by weird shit. Like there was this
They didn't
one
know
woman,
how to open doors.
This
Yeah.
one woman reported like a sighting, and so this fucking short, weird-looking dude with like grayish skin
He had a
shows up.
smile.
Like perma grin on with a black suit. Goes there and starts speaking half gibberish to her about shit, talking about the UFO incident. And then he became obsessed with like a ballpoint pen that was on the table, and just started clicking it and going fucking bullshit.
That's
like
what I'm saying, man.
mentally handicapped child or something. And she was like, "Here, just take the fucking pen and get out
Yeah,
of
no,
here."
because it's
like,
probably like
run
a
away like out the door like a little gremlin.
priceless
basically.
artifact.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know. It's just weird to think like
They built a religion around it.
Yeah.
Fucking 10,000 years in the future.
Another theory is that the Men in Black were tulpas, and
so they're like a creature that exists just strictly out of the fact that people believe in them.
they
basically.
feed off the
Ooh.
height of emotion.
Yeah.
Another theory too is that the Men in Black movie was created to take actual Men in Black seem a little bit more family oriented and doubtful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like almost non-existent because they're taking it in a jokingly direction instead of a negative direction.
I mean, like the Men in Black shit with that Mothman incident is more prevalent than the Mothman sightings. And it is the fucking weird.
They were all
it.
over the place, and
Yes.
they would harass people and show up to your
and
your
like
house.
barbecues and shit. Like
Yeah,
they would
they-
show up at barbecues and harass you, being like speaking in fucked up English. Like
Would anyone like a flaming hot beer?
yeah.
They said that sometimes the Men in Black seemed to they were like an empty shell of a human. Like
They would eat weird shit too. Like,
pretend
it's
to
like-
be human,
Yeah, I am human.
Yeah,
a
exactly.
little more robotic. They said that like they didn't really have lips, that they wore lipstick to make it look like they had lips, and like. But they were so nervous and unhuman like that they would rub their lipstick off, and it would be like really creepy because their skin was like not of human skin color,
Like,
was a little too whitewashed.
imagine-
Cyborgs.
Like, imagine being in this town in the late 60s and this shit's going on. You're like, well, there's a fucking winged demon man living out by the fucking munitions plant. And
oh,
there's
This
Ted.
just goes back.
UFOs everywhere, and there's men in black walking around fucking stealing your pen and yelling random weirdo shit at your barbecue for
They
no
were
reason.
trolling. They were probably like, in my time, we don't even have doors. What is that bullshit? these people are stupid. They let them in their house.
Like, consistently.
Consistently. Like, I'm sorry, if I answered the door and some guy that looked like that was behind it, no, bitch, you're not getting in my house. You're staying right there. We're not talking anywhere else. Goodbye.
Do you think they let him in because they resembled some kind of law enforcement agents? Like, they were just more...
They sound like they would just force their way into a scenario most of the time. Just strut right into your fucking house.
Like Jehovah's Witnesses.
Or show up at your job and shit, yeah. Yeah, like Jehovah's Witnesses, I guess. This is pretty similar.
You're drawing a lot of lines.
That's another good theory. They're just Jehovah's Witnesses who are enthusiastic about UFOs.
Quasi-dimensional Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah. So, you know, not only this, but when people would see all these UFO incidents, it always coincided with, like, oh, here's a bunch of weird little humanoids collecting dirt samples and then not paying attention to what the hell's going on when everyone's, like, you know, a dozen people are witnessing it, basically. And they would see them doing really... They were talking about in that documentary Behind the Red Eyes how they would see him doing really just mundane, stupid shit. Like a woman would saw like a fucking UFO hovering above her kid's school when she went to go drop him off, and there was just like literally a guy hanging out on the rim of it, like in a fucking spacesuit, basically.
And so, and that's what more Mothman does. He's like kind of there when bad stuff happens.
Yeah, I mean another theory is like if you
he
go
should be a part of this podcast because
he was spotted during the Chernobyl disaster. 9/11 apparently.
Yeah, this week
he gets spotted during a lot like throughout history, a couple thousand years back. Hopefully he doesn't want
Jeep
any...
and creeping motherfucker.
Hopefully he doesn't want any fucking royalties from all the Mothman patches I used to sell.
He'd be tough to Mike because he's telepathic.
You don't have a mouth. Yeah, they'll just bring a couple of fucking men in black with them and have them translate
Topi
for
boys.
him and shit. Yeah.
The I-35 West Bridge collapse, the swine flu outbreak in Mexico.
When was this? When was the swine flu outbreak?
Not that long ago.
April 2009. April 10th, 2009.
You remember swine flu, bro? That was big in the news.
Oh, yeah.
Was that H1N1?
No, that's bird flu.
I mean, it's no SARS, I guess.
But isn't that how swine flu became a thing? Because it was the H1N1 and something else?
So are you blaming Mothman for swine flu right now? Is that
listen, I'm not, but the portalist.com
But the goddamn FDA is.
They might as well be. I can't help but think every time we say the name of the movie Behind Red Eyes, it's almost like that song by The Who, Behind Blue Eyes.
Yeah, that was about Mothman.
No one knows what it's like to be the Mothman.
It's an uphill battle for Mothman.
I prefer the Fred Durst version of
that
song.
Again?
God, what is this one?
He covers Behind Blue Eyes.
No.
Did that happen? Limp Bizkit? Why do we always talk about Limp Bizkit?
We always do. It's
wasn't
either
Limp Bizkit.
Wu-Tang related or Limp Bizkit.
I'm pretty sure it was just Fred
Jesus
Durst.
fucking Christ.
After Limp Bizkit broke up, or certainly after...
Oh, they still make albums, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
Certainly after Wes Borland left the band. The real talent.
So we can't get through one episode without talking about Fred Durst, guys. That's
Butt rock forever.
That's our trademark on this show, just so you know. Yeah, you know, after Mothman disappeared, Fred Durst just started horrifying people around there. Was Mothman there,
the first Limp Bizkit show ever?
Fred Durst just haunts the TNT area to this day, scaring teenagers trying to get some pussy. They see his red fitted hat glow in the darkness.
He's just a stoned humanoid owl, okay? He's just trying to get some. Also, who's that guy in the documentary with the he was like a very hickish kind of guy, and he was sitting on his wooden chair.
That's at least 4 people in that documentary.
No, but wait. He was like...
It's a 3-hour documentary filmed in West Virginia.
He was talking about Woodrow Denberg. He was like, nothing was out of the blue except that dang cigar-shaped saucer.
Yeah, okay. So this is one of the weirdest incidents, I think, in this Mothman thing. That you really don't see it get talked about anywhere near as much as any of the other incidents either.
It's also really just obscure.
It's just fucking weird. So basically, this guy gets pulled over one day by some fucking, basically a space vehicle, and a guy gets out with this plastered back smile who's speaking to him telepathically, and they basically become friends, and the guy tells him he's from another planet, and this would just be a harebrained story if not for the fact that there were other people driving on the highway that saw this thing pull him over, basically.
Interesting.
Which is pretty crazy. Yeah, it was literally a highway. People were going by as a fucking cigar-shaped thing lowered to the ground. And
Yeah, it was actually very publicized because it had so many witnesses. People said that they saw Woodrow Derenberger talking to this guy, which refers to himself as Andrew Cole.
Indrid Cold.
Indrid Cold.
Andrew
Also,
Cole.
the way that this guy presented himself was...
My name is Huge. Huge.
He talked really slow, and he had this creepy smile that wouldn't move, but he could talk, but also his face wouldn't move.
Yeah. And, you know, the thing about that is a lot of people met this guy, you know? It wasn't just like an isolated, like, let me spin you a fucking tall tale. Like, a lot of people met this guy in person. And then didn't the dude that he was rolling around with just disappear with him for like 6 months?
Mr. Mothman.
Yeah, well, no, this guy...
They would go to his homeland
yeah,
together.
like the family, people would ask the family, they're like, where the hell is your husband? And it's like, the family broke down and said that, he disappears to another, like, dimension with this guy occasionally, basically. So...
Now, were any of these people on or prescribed antipsychotics?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, most likely. Okay. I'm not saying I believe all this
shit.
This
is West Virginia.
It's just, okay, here's a couple side notes you need to remember. A, it's West Virginia.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever been to West Virginia.
I've been to West Virginia. I could tell you a West Virginia story.
So, sorry to West Virginia in advance, but there's no fucking reason for me to ever really visit your state.
Let's get back to this Andrew Cole guy. Yeah, you know.
I love that you keep calling him Andrew Cole. It's cracking me the fuck up. It is not his name.
But that's what you called him.
Indrid Cold.
Yeah, well, that's what you know.
Andrew Cole sounds like it's an R&B star or something.
Yeah. I immediately think...
So does Indrid Cold, though. Indrid Cold is like...
Does Andrew Cole wear a fedora? And the answer is 100%.
Yes,
isn't
there
an artist out there and her name is Ingrid Cole?
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know what the kids like. I don't know.
Maybe this is the Mothman's attempt at,
all I do is read about fucking
relating.
cryptids online. I don't know what people listen to.
Indrid Cold and well, he was kind of creepy. He liked to smile a lot. Those reenactments and the behind red eyes really creeped me the fuck out.
That's hilarious because I feel like they were not well made.
They were not well made, but the smiles that they gave these dudes, creepy. Creepy as fuck. But yeah, so the Men in Black got a hold of knowing that Indrid Cole regularly visited Woodrow Derenberger, and they were harassing him. They would show up at his house. They would leave him voicemails. They would call him all hours of the day, and sometimes they wouldn't say anything. Other times it was really low, almost inaudible speaking, or just people telling him to just stop.
There'd be like, wouldn't this thing happen too with the Men in Black shit, where they would get like a series of calls that was like heavy breathing and then like a bunch of beeps? And
do you think that's like Morse code?
And sometimes people would like black out from the beeps.
Well, the heavy breathing was me.
Yeah, that was hysteric.
And then the Nikki Sixx poster.
Yeah, have you ever got a bunch of heavy breathing, and then just a bunch of numbers
leave Nikki Sixx out of this, Nicole.
Yeah.
That's my man.
If the beeps start playing the song Funky Town through the phone, and there's just a bunch of heavy breathing, that's hysteric.
I'd pass out too, out of pure excitement.
Complete blacked out, like, lost time.
Not again.
Not again.
Can you imagine? Every time you hear Funky Town, you just pass out.
Yeah.
It's like a fainting goat.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
But, yeah, so basically the Indrid Cold thing, that ended up winding down a little bit, and that guy's life, the Woodrow guy, his life started to get pretty fucking lame because people would just harass the fuck out of him about it at that point.
He moved away.
Well, after a while he moved away, but for a while he was doing like some sort of tour around town based on his experiences.
So he wasn't hiding from anyone.
No, it was, like I said, it was a totally public thing. That's like the weird part about it.
That's why the Men in Black were harassing the ever-loving fuck out of this dude, because they knew he wasn't gonna stop, and he was just like, my experiences, my experience with Indrid Cold.
Like, yeah, so then he eventually had to move away, though, because of how stupid the harassment would get about it.
But he did move back and then live out the remainder of his life in Point Pleasant, and then later died there. Yeah.
Well, so then basically, this whole incident culminates after about a year, where the main bridge in town, Silver Bridge that we were referring to earlier, collapses on, I want to say Christmas Eve, or it was around Christmas.
It was right before Christmas Eve. It's actually really obscure and sad.
Yeah, like they're not really sure how the bridge went out. What did they blamed it on something?
They said it was an eighth inch of rust in the T-bar that made the T-bar go down first, which caused a domino effect because the bridge was overweight because the light at the front of the bridge wasn't on a timely. It wasn't running according to its correct timing, so it was off timing, which caused a traffic buildup, which caused that bar to apparently that was a little bit rusty. But, you know, that bridge going down actually set the tone for America. I believe the president that year had every bridge in America checked.
No shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, after that one fell because it was such a traumatic story in the headlines at the time.
A lot of people blame it specifically on the Mothman related stuff because, there was one of those famous pictures of the Mothman is on that bridge from a few days before, basically.
Right, where you can kind of see him standing on
It's like a winged thing on top of it. It's a pretty neat picture, but it could easily be fucking faked. It's,
for sure.
You know, from the mid-60s or whatever. Fucking camera technology is not great to begin with. Basically, the reason that people signify it like that is because after the bridge fell, all this shit just stopped happening for the most part.
Except the Men in Black, which started to investigate the collapse of the bridge.
Oh, see, I didn't even know that they popped up still once the bridge got fucked up.
Yeah, they were.
So they're just still around harassing people at this point. At this point, no one's even afraid of them. They're just pissed off at these chalk-faced
I'm trying to figure out if you have these beings who are here asking people to stop talking, like, what does that entail on the grander scheme of things? Like, is there, like, a hierarchy of, like, interdimensional government forces?
I mean, I would guess that would be
like
the scenario with that.
Yeah.
This is kind of my theory about it. So this is my nerd theory on this. I don't know if you know anything about like Skinwalker Ranch or anything like that.
Yes,
well, I didn't
same
listen.
thing.
How they look
Native
at it
American
like
land.
Yeah, well, they think of it as like this interdimensional like crossways basically.
Right,
so just fucking weird shit happens because you got like the section where just fucking realities are bleeding into each other. I kind of believe in that theory of multiple realities and there's like fissure holes opening up between levels of reality. That's probably the most feasible explanation for something like that.
What if it's...
I was just going to say, or like the other theory is if UFOs are real, the way they get across large sections of the galaxy. So dimensions fading into each other.
Yeah, we've all seen Event Horizon.
It's a great movie.
It was actually pretty good.
Oh my god.
Movie fucking
terrifying.
Yeah.
If you're brave enough, hit slow-mo on the scenes where they get video feed of the ship when it was in hell.
I don't think I've done that before.
That is some intense stuff.
Yeah,
I feel a little inspired now that you said it, and I kind of want to go home and do that
it's like ultra gore. I'm sure you can pull it up online. You don't need to.
So
the hell scenes from Event Horizon slowed way down on Dig.
So this town that this happened in West Virginia. My mom actually lived in the town for a little while, and
your mother lived in Point Pleasant.
Yeah, after like a few years after, she was like, I think when she was like 13 or 14, something like that.
Okay, so
it's like early 70s.
The Mothman.
No, that's not what I was gonna say. I was saying me and her talked about it a few weeks ago, and she was like, "Yeah, that I never even heard about that when I lived there." She's like, that's not something that was just randomly brought up.
Well, I'm looking at statues.
Well, that statue got made way later, though.
Okay, in Point Pleasant, and it looks like they have, like fucking a museum.
Well, now they do, yeah. Now it's a fucking tourist trap for this shit. Like people, they decided to cash in on it because so many fucking dorks lighting their town up about it.
Just like Roswell, like Roswell.
Yeah. And what they ended up finding out later is that whole the TNT area where they would see the Mothman all the time. They ended up finding out like 2 decades later that the thing was leaking mad radioactive materials out of it into the groundwater and shit like that. So that's another theory, is that it was attracted to just the toxic waste, basically.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
There's a great SNL skit with Phil Hartman from back in the day.
Mothman?
Phil Hartman.
No, Mothman.
It was Mothman.
This is not how you pronounce his last name.
It is now.
Phil Hart. That's how the Men in Black would pronounce his last name.
On this podcast, it is.
Hello, Phil Hartman.
Phil Hartman.
That's what that shit is. So.
Oh my god.
Okay, so basically.
It took a while for us to get there, but
no, we're back. Yeah, we're back at it. So the Mothman sightings in West Virginia pretty much stopped after the bridge.
Phil, please. It's Phil Mothman.
Yeah, Phil Mothman destroyed the bridge. Anyway, here we are, 40 plus years later, and around the Chicago area, there's up to 84 sightings of a similar creature from 2011 to present.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, and I happen to talk to the main fucking researcher about Mothman. Well, one of the main researchers about him in America, because I 100% stalked him from a Vice article on Facebook, and he sent me a fucking map of each one of them by number with a description of each one of them.
And I think that we should probably make that available via our either Bandcamp or SoundCloud.
Yeah, I'll
site.
try to link it directly to the recording when we put it up, so you can people can feel free to take a look at it.
This is an Absurd and Report podcast with Josh, Derek, and Nicole. You can find us at absurdandreport.bandcamp.com.
I tried to get this guy on the show. What the hell is his name? Lon Strickler. I will say, Lon, thanks for sending me the map. What the hell, man? How come you didn't come on the show? You're the ultimate authority on the Mothman, and I want to know some of these new creature sightings.
Yeah, what the hell, Lon?
Here's my thing about these new sightings, though. Why are there no... Okay, I can see how there's not really any footage of this thing years ago, late 60s, when people are seeing this. How are there not 80 fucking cell phone videos of this fucking thing?
Right, we got people filming rats eating pizza.
Yeah, that's my point.
Well, because a lot of this happened... Well, back in the day, a lot of this happened in the 50s, 60s, and the 70s.
I mean, that makes sense because...
But what if aliens are getting better? Just like humans progress, they progress. Like, they know that we have gadgets now that could do that. So what if they're more...
I mean, here's the thing.
Secretive now that they're progressing.
Okay, here's the thing, though. Some of these witnesses, some of these incidents are in front of, like, a dozen people at a time. So, it's not like the thing's being that discreet. Like, one of the ones I read was, like, this is, like, a couple of years ago. Yeah, 7-foot black bat-winged humanoid. Of course, it's after Lollapalooza, so of course I don't trust this
Somebody's
at all.
like on acid.
These are all personal accounts on here of like what they did, and literally this guy started his with this after Lollapalooza, and he spelled Lollapalooza wrong. So I'm gonna go to a different account.
Give him the Lollapalooza. That's a tough one.
A good thing that I noticed that when reading a lot of the occurrences with UFOs, of like the cars would come to a stop, everything would shut off, like. Nothing electronic was working, like the magnetic fields were off, like, and all those things. So maybe, like, when a UFO is around, maybe your phone is not working. That's why when you're on MUFON, you just find all these drawings of dicks instead of UFOs.
I don't think that's the reason.
Is there a lot of dick drawings on MUFON? Is that a thing?
It's always a drawing. You're like, oh, this person has a picture, and you click on it, and it's like this hot dog. Looks like a literal hot dog.
What is interesting about all these later Mothman sightings in the Chicago area is they all fit the same fucking profile. It's all like no one remembers its face. It doesn't fly. It just like hovers up into the air. I mean, for fuck's sake, there's a camera on every goddamn street light now. You know what I mean? Like, have you ever been to Chicago? There's like a fucking camera every 3 feet.
I lived in Chicago.
Yeah, so
you did.
I find it kind of.
You like it?
Inexplicable, I guess, that nobody would see find a picture of it or just accidentally get a picture of it.
Well, it's on the MUFON website now.
I'm on the MUFON website right now, too.
So, I feel like maybe this is something that we can keep track of, because now that it's on this website, that means people are going to be looking for it, and people have already started to reply. I mean, it's been on for a couple of years, it looks like, 2017.
I mean, it looks like the map that this guy sent me, he updates it, because it's on Google Maps.
So, to this day, you're saying that Mothman is still being sighted, but just in Chicago?
Around the Great Lakes area, basically.
Yeah, I guess Vice did an article on it.
That's how I found the guy. That's how he sent me this map. That guy, Lon Strickler, that's in the article. You know, Lon Strickler that wouldn't come on the show to be interviewed.
You know, I like the drawing that Vice used because they kind of make him look cuddly and sad.
Instead of something that psychically fucks you up and...
Yeah, like Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
Well, Lon, thanks for sending us the map.
Yeah,
This is all pretty interesting stuff.
What would be your first reaction if you ever came in contact with the Mothman?
Try to get him baked immediately.
You would whip out your bowl and be like, "Smoke this, my guy."
That's like a dream of mine. I've been waiting to do that for years.
You're like, "Hey, let's get your red eyes even redder,
Yeah.
bruh."
Yeah, red eyes.
Blazing out.
Yeah, he's already stoned.
Yeah.
He's got red eyes.
Yeah, maybe he's
He's
already
like,
baked.
back on my planet, we do more than this.
Got
He's just
space
stoned.
weed.
He's
We
Yeah.
have space weed. Try this, you like die instantly. You hear Funky Town.
Oh, shit.
Actually, I kind of want to read this Mothman book, to be honest. I kind of want to know more about the Mothman. If I ever came in contact with the Mothman, I feel like I might pee my pants first. Because I wouldn't be able to process the sheer existence of this thing standing in front of me, and I'd be, like, paralyzed with fear. The only experience I've ever had was I was seeing this guy in Canton, and there's a street called York Street, and it's this it's a very dangerous street to be driving on. I had a few friends that got into a really awful car accident, and they were in a coma for a long time. And there's a curve, and it's called like Dead Man's Curve, and you go around.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's got a wall, but you gotta. It's kind of, there's like kind of a technique. You flick your wheel and you go around the curve.
Pop the e-brake, fucking drift, Fast and the Furious style.
Anyway.
Tokyo Drift, baby.
Anyway, we were getting out of his house, and we were sitting in the truck, and I was smoking a blunt, and for a second I was like,
spinning your wheels so fast around the Dead Man's Curve.
the whole sky lit up bright white. Like it was like light. Like
Yeah,
I almost went blind.
I've seen that shit happen before. And
Paul
no
Walker
idea.
is that beautiful. He must have been
No, what?
drifting by you in his Toyota Supra.
That is the freakiest thing that happened to me. And then, like, I didn't know whether or not if I should run back in the house to tell anybody what's going on. I was sitting in the car, and I was like, I'm too high to handle this right now. And I start seeing the lights in the house go off one by one. And he's like, hey, we gotta go back in that house and tell him, like, I'm not fucking going back in that house after watching all those lights. Shut up.
Yeah, that's nuts.
So
That's insane.
I was like, you know, I'm just gonna walk this off. I'm gonna get some fucking Taco Bell. I'm really high. I need that Baja Blast in my life.
This was all a fucking Taco Bell ad the whole time, wasn't it?
I take off down York Street to get to Taco Bell, and the street lights start going out one by one. And I got to Taco Bell, and everything was fine.
I'm certain to report, Presente de Taco Bell.
That's when I get to Taco Bell. Guy from Taco Bell turns around. Fucking Mothman.
Paul Walker?
Yeah,
Do you think Mothman was there for Paul Walker's?
I don't fucking know. Yeah, he just.
But I
That's the
feel
last thing
like
he
in
saw.
that moment of time, I didn't know how to assess what was going on, and I was really freaked out. And I felt like there was definitely something strange happening that I couldn't really identify what was going on. I didn't see anything weird. It was just all like strange light occurrences. I think at some point, you know, we thought maybe it was like a transformer exploded.
Not. I thought you were just gonna say like Transformer. I thought you like Optimus Prime situation.
Yeah, Optimus Prime's coming back, y'all.
Well, I mean, he's an alien. What's so unbelievable about that?
Who's putting those aliens together? That's what I want to
They're
know.
already
Like, you
put
just
together.
telling me, like, they give birth to little robot babies?
No, Metatron is their creator, I
So
think.
who created Metatron?
It's a chicken and the egg.
How the
suit.
fuck did we get on this? What is going on?
You stay out of this, Josh.
I have robot life form questions that need to be answered. Who's the big baby in the sky making these toys?
Is that what you call God, the big baby in the sky?
I mean, God is kind of like a big baby in the sky. Like, what kind of God does all these things?
Anyway, because of,
Jesus' crown, is that even real? Is that who made that artifact
no,
and
it's
who
probably
sealed
not.
that away?
I don't know. Did we get pictures of it? If we got pictures of it,
they showed a picture of it, and
all right,
it looked like.
Then fine. Then it existed. That's fine. We have proof that it's been studied. Like, what's the point of just holding on to it?
It's not like some dude
ever going to use it again.
It's not like some dude walked in with a Molotov cocktail and was like, "Yeah, fuck God," and like threw it against the fucking wall and it just went on fire.
Listen,
like,
if that's all it took to burn the fucking thing to the ground, then they should have probably thought about it.
Some jabroni leaving a blowtorch on that's doing the construction.
Tell me there was no means. It's just like that one fire and the thing's just out of control. Like, whatever.
Yeah, no, that's just all faulty construction and idiocy. I don't think they deserve any money.
Talking to Americans about that shit, we don't really have sympathy for it because, I mean, we'll just, like, throw 9/11 right in your face. We'll like, oh, yeah, your fucking church burned down.
Why don't you suck on some 9/11, you son of a bitch?
Yeah, how many people died? Oh, 0? No one?
Oh, Jesus Lord.
Jamming 9/11 right down your fucking throat.
We will always have that.
That's our slogan, actually. It's our new tag for the podcast. Just fucking cramming 9/11 right down your mouth.
Yep, 9/11 and Mothman. I didn't find anything Mothman related to 9/11, and 9/11 is...
What do you mean? You found a picture?
No, that was definitely
not
Mothman.
Of him flying into one of the towers.
It was not Mothman. Also, didn't want to... Well, I feel like 9/11 in itself is a really great conspiracy because there's so many smaller conspiracies that lead up to that bigger plot.
I did recently I watched Vice recently, the Dick Cheney movie. And that is something that I strongly suggest you see.
I've never seen it, actually.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just...
Is that on Netflix?
It just came out. I don't think it's on Netflix yet.
I'm on demand.
You could rent it, yeah. But it shows how Dick Cheney really, truly was the puppet master of the entire administration, and he did some fucking real nasty stuff. Whew! Nasty stuff.
Yeah, he's a scummy dude.
Eyes, they actually said they had a museum and a festival dedicated to Mothman.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the museum bought some of those patches I made a couple of years ago.
Very cool.